I'm Sean Gunn, and you're listening to SuperheroSlate.com.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Punmaster Dillard.
And my name is Mike. I can't think of anything else rare.
Nice. So Spider-Man and his friends are swinging into our news this week, Mike.
All right.
That's one. The Punisher is shooting for a January release for season 2.
Oh, there's the pun.
That's 2. And Aquaman is causing a splash in theaters this week.
Oh man! Speaking of Aquaman, let's do a live search right now because my local theater has just been really slacking on getting these advanced tickets out for Aquaman, and at this point in time, it's not even advanced anymore. It's like we're literally in the week of Aquaman, and yep, I still can't buy any tickets at my local theater for any showing on Thursday, December 20th. So I don't know what's going on there, but I would assume that either the theater is going to fall into a sinkhole and they just know it's going to happen, or maybe they just fired the person that posts these listings, but I've still yet to get my Aquaman tickets.
It's so late, they're already on Christmas vacation earlier this month, and they're just like, oh yeah, Aquaman, we forgot about it.
Well, they're
no
just like,
no one's gonna watch that, right?
We're like, everybody's got Amazon Prime. I'm sure they all saw the movie over the weekend, and I know, Chris, you were trying to get to it this weekend, but they shifted your show time, so you couldn't get there, and we were celebrating my wife's birthday yesterday. Even though she is in love with Jason Momoa, I'm sure she would have loved to see that dude shirtless in a 2.5-hour movie for her birthday. But we had a party planned, so there's only so much we could have done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and plus it's early screenings. It's not even technically out. This is the same as our Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse kind of preview we did, because it is now officially out this weekend. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would have loved to watch it. I think it's out in China, maybe. It's been out, maybe. I think there are screens. There are whole camera versions leaked online of this movie. So I'm just trying to avoid, like we said, the touch and go when movies are coming out. Like, avoid the internet. Don't click anything suspicious.
I think they also leaked the entire game of the new Kingdom Hearts 3. I just read before we got on the show that I think the headline was the leaker was captured, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? What are they doing to this person?
Yeah. So apparently, I think it was like an internal leak kind of thing. Like it's not public. Like, no reviewer had it and leaked it, but I think they said the ending and the post-credit scene and everything like that are still not on it. So if you avoid that stuff if you're in it. We live in a world where you can like ruin everything in a heartbeat on accident if you're not like looking the right way. I mean, speaking of, there's a camera versions of Into the Spider-Verse out already, and I know someone who watched it, and they're like, oh man, I didn't get to see the end credit scene. I'm like, well, let me just go over to YouTube real quick, and there it is. Send it over to them. And there you go. Everything is at our fingertips, Mike.
I have to say, that is a unique feeling that sometimes is really exciting, where like some sort of big movie will come out that like I just have no intention on watching. Maybe it's just not a genre that I like, or I know it's not going to be good, but I've heard there's maybe something crazy that happens in a movie, or there's like a twist, or there's some sort of controversy in it. So it's just like, oh, well, I have no intention of waiting to see this movie, so I'll just go online and I'll just read it. I'll just spoil it for myself. I would obviously never do it for anything we talk about on this show because we really like this stuff, but sometimes it's kind of nice to be like, yeah, I'm just going to get right to the goods and I don't have to like waste my time. But definitely do not do that for Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, nor Aquaman if you can. I mean, it's our first, I guess it's our first DC movie this year. We've gone through this several. Every time I ask them, like, did we get any? It's been Justice League, right?
Yeah. I was actually surprised that it was that long ago. I was talking with somebody the other day. We were talking about Spider-Verse, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go see Aquaman next week. And he looks at me and he's just like, you know what, you're part of the problem. That's why they keep making them. And I was like, oh come on, man, this one might be better. And he was just like, I don't know. I finally saw Justice League on a plane, and yikes.
No. Oh Lord, no. Oh, poor person.
Yeah.
But I mean, we live in. I mean, I'm like avoiding anything I can from it, but I mean, hopefully, we get something good. I mean, the previews look better than anything we saw for Justice League, really. And Jason Momoa is infectious. in the role. Now, what we didn't get, I think, in the States this week, movie-wise, is actually Dragon Ball Broly. The Dragon Ball Broly. They're making Dragon Ball movies still, Mike. So
okay.
We
live action, or are you talking?
No, it's like actually part of the series. Like when the series ended in Japan or took a hiatus, they made this movie, and then the new show will pick up after this. Even
okay.
So,
but whatever, Japan.
we talked about the anime. I guess Revolution last weekend. So
our very small corner, the superhero Slate anime corner.
Yeah, well, apparently I saw an article that says like we are in the renaissance of anime again in America. So I'm like, well, whatever you want to believe, but lot of movies out there. It's that time of year, it's Christmas season. If you have Christmas movies you like to watch, we do have a couple superhero Christmas movies, Mike. If you remember that, Iron Man 3, which everybody loves, and Batman Returns is another Christmas movie with the Penguin.
Oh yeah, that's right. And if your qualification is simply as it's during the winter time, I think what the Dark Knight Returns, I think that Siege of Gotham takes so long. I think there's literally snow and ice at some point in that movie. So I don't know, maybe you can pivot your way into Christmas with that movie.
Yeah, you possibly could. You possibly could. So I mean that's been going on. I caught a little bit of Ernest Saves Christmas yesterday.
Oh, classic. It's been so long since I've seen that film.
Yeah, I can't say it ages well because it's as old as we are from 1988, but it's got some funny stuff in it, so I'll give you that. But,
yeah, I was going to shout out, we were talking about this before we started recording, there's a Ryan Reynolds film out there called Just Friends that came out 2000 something, I can't remember. I tweeted about it the other day. But it's Ryan Reynolds becomes this big like Hollywood hotshot, then returns back to home, and it's a little bit of like a rom-com during the holidays where he's trying to get the girl that friend-zoned him like back in high school. But they do flashbacks to back when he was in high school, and he's like in this like he's in this kind of like semi tacky like fat suit to make him look fat, so he grows up to be the hot guy. But there's just really hilarious like just slapstick comedy in the movie, especially when he like gets into arguments with his brother and they just start slap fighting. And there's like 4 or 5 of these slap fights in the movie that are just like really funny. So if you just kind of need like it, and it's technically like Christmas, it happens during the holidays, so if you want like your Ryan Reynolds Christmas movie and you don't want to go out and pay for Once Upon a Deadpool, just watch Just Friends. I like it. I think the reason I started watching it is because my brother was a really big fan of that movie. So and there you go, I keep it all in the family.
You do. And you and your brother have slap fights?
You know what? We haven't had slap fights in a really long time. We just decide to, we just bond over movies. We've been watching, I think, Krampus every year.
Oh, yeah?
Just recently. That's a fun Christmas movie, too. Because it's like, even if you don't like scary or horror movies, there's just enough, like, Christmas sheen over the top of it to make it tolerable if you get a little too spooky, because you get like people like Adam Scott in there who familiar face from Parks and Rec, but then throw in like crazy Christmas demon and other stuff, and there's just kind of like wacky CG paired with like practical effects of like I think there's like a snake that's kind of made out of boxes that eats, like Christmas wrap boxes that eat somebody. So you get this really strange juxtaposition of the holidays and also horror. So I would even recommend that even if you really don't like horror or scary movies. So go watch Krampus. It's really good.
There you go. Mike's Christmas movie recommendation right there. Something you probably shouldn't watch with your kids.
No.
Yeah, that's it. So, other than that, I think we might have some housekeeping at the end of the episode to talk about, Mike, outside of the show. But, I mean, we're not going to have an episode the last weekend of this year, if that is correct. Because I will be in Disney World, and you will be possibly traveling.
Yeah, we earn this every once in a while. I think at least one weekend a year we can give a vacation to ourselves. And also the news usually trickles down during the end of the year. So things will always kick back up in January. That's when all of the studios re-kickstart the marketing machine. So we'll get tons of leaks and drips once the holidays are over.
It'll be 1 month till all the Super Bowl trailers when we come back in January.
Oh, yeah.
2 months until Captain Marvel, and then 3 months until Avengers 4. So
yeah, And especially thanks to February being like this brand new month for big movies. I mean, that means they only have like really 1 month left to really push that. So
and Shazam's April as well. So we've got a really good run there.
And I bet as soon as we come back, we might be talking about a Sonic trailer. A Hellboy trailer finally.
That's right. Yeah, possibly another New Mutants trailer, or even rip on the new Dark Phoenix trailer. I don't know. We've got a lot to maybe look forward to, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, but before we jump into the show notes, I must give the most important shout out of the week. Today is my lovely wife's birthday, so happy birthday to my wife out there, who was gracious enough to be totally cool and chill with us recording the podcast today. I even told her, I was like, hey, if you want me to record this day early on Saturday so your birthday is free and clear, I will see what I can do. I'll make that happen. She was like, no, I don't care. You can go ahead and do your crazy nerd stuff on Sunday. So shout out to my lovely wife, who may be hearing me right now from the other room. I don't know.
She might be. I wished her a happy birthday on the book face, and she responded to me, watch The Family Stone with you. I now know that you actually did watch this movie that I would not wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah, and we know the wives do not listen to the podcast because they get our annoying rants in first person, real time. So
usually when I'm laughing at my phone, she's like, "What?" I'm like, "It's either you or my friend Brian." I'm like, I'm either laughing at something me and Mike are talking about, or I'm laughing at something me and Brian are talking about. So they get to hear all the fun stuff. But we're not here to talk about our wives, Mike. We're here to talk about comic books and movies and news.
The real important stuff.
Yeah. But we've got a lot of actual Spider-Man news right at the top of the show here, which is really interesting.
Who would have thunk on the release date of Spider-Verse?
Exactly. So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is officially in theaters. People can go watch it. Reviews seem to be pretty positive, especially from us. And if you want to go and listen to our review now that you've watched it, we have that available in our feed. How can people make sure they get that review episode, Mike?
All you got to do is subscribe to Superhero Slate. Go to superheroslate.com to find all the avenues we post the show. And one of the few times we're lucky enough to see a movie before the general public, so we put that review up. We let a lot of you know, hey, if you haven't watched it yet, don't listen to this. You're going to spoil everything. So hopefully you have seen Spider-Verse this weekend. You can go listen to our full, unadulterated thoughts. We'll talk about spoilers, Easter eggs, post-credit scenes, and what have you. And if you haven't seen it yet, there is a post-credit scene. Stay all the way to the end, just before they turn the house lights on, and you have to throw your popcorn away.
Exactly. You're throwing popcorn? You didn't eat it all?
You can only get so many refills. Eventually, you can't eat it all the way down to the bottom. There's always going to be those kernels and what do they call them? Old maids, the ones that don't pop.
I didn't know they had a name. I'm licking my fingers, sticking in that bucket, and get all that butter and salt out of there myself.
All I want is somebody at the concession stands to just have a little respect for the practicality of how to drizzle on butter. Okay, that's great that you have your own butter pourers, but I'm only gonna get the top 1% layer of this popcorn. What I really need you to do is fill this up a third. I'm gonna walk away, add the butter. I'm gonna come back, give me another third. I'm gonna go get more butter, and then you give me the last third. I know it's gonna take a while. I know I'm holding up the line. This is how you get real butter coverage, people.
This sounds like you're trying to pitch some sort of real life example of trickle down economics using popcorn bucket. But so I saw
butter doesn't. That's perfect, Chris. The butter does not trickle all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, it likes to stay on the top kernels. So my buddy Forrest, who actually works at a theater nearby, I get to see him every once in a while. He showed me his trick for getting butter on all the popcorn.
What's that?
By shoving a straw down the middle.
Oh, I've seen that. I tried it, but there's a lot of learning curve to getting that butter stream into the straw. And if you don't get it right, everybody looks at you like you're an idiot.
Yeah. Well, thankfully he had it down to an art. I even think because he worked there, he had a little special. He was able to go back, fill it half up. I think he said don't fill it all the way up. He did the butter on top, the butter with the straw, then went back, had him fill it up, top it off, and then poured butter on top of that again, and then mixed it all up. It was wild. He had the system down. I was like, this is, you madman, how are you doing this? Anyway, Spider-Man currently sitting at 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Whew. Not that you should use that, but that is the highest rated Spider-Man movie on Rotten Tomatoes to date. So
I'm still looking for a logical argument, because I think last week when we were talking about this movie, like one person had chimed in saying they didn't like the movie. So when you told me the review, they said that they didn't like the animation, which was just insane. I didn't understand that. And then I was reading some other people's reviews online for the film, and even people that said that they liked the film, they were just like, oh, I liked the film and I liked the animation, even though it might not be someone's cup of tea. And I'm just thinking, I don't there's nothing divisive about how this movie looks or how it's animated. It's astonishingly beautiful. So I think maybe sometimes people just see kind of like something new and unique, and they don't really know how to handle it, so they think like, oh, this is different, I like it, but just because it's different and new, somebody out there must hate it. I'm just going to clear the air. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the animation of this film. It's beautiful. If you don't like it, you're just an old cranky man.
Yeah, so like the first review right now that you can see that is rotten says it's more of an experiment than an actual film. A writer on Salon.com.
Oh God.
What? Anyway, this movie is awesome. I was able to convince one of my friends to watch it. Like I was like, you go to see it in theaters. He's like, he's the guy who watched the cam version of it. He's like, I need to go see this in theaters. Like he's like, I need to go give my money to this movie because even the cam version convinced him to go see it. So.
Yeah, it is, and it is kind of funny because we were talking about how there was early screenings of this film, and it may just because they're trying to get the word out, because these animated films just don't perform the same as like a live action movie would, because a live action has like the faces and the actors, and you know, also they're part of like the bigger MCU. And like I was talking to some people over the last week who are big nerds, big Marvel movie fans and stuff, and I was just like, did you guys see Spider-Verse yet? Like this movie's awesome. Like, oh, I haven't gotten around to seeing it. And I'm just like, really? Because you are like the same type of person who would have seen, you know, any Avengers movie like opening weekend. So it's just kind of interesting, this kind of slightly uphill battle that Sony has for this specific movie, that like there are plenty of people out there that should see this movie, but I guess they just haven't gotten around to it. So just go see it. It's so good.
It's not a kid's movie. I think that might be the biggest breaking point. Like, I can't go watch an animated movie. It's a kid's movie. It's Disney or Pixar. No, this is not at all. Like, it's got some pretty deep stuff in it. And kids will enjoy it, but it's also got enough in there for the adults that I don't think you'll be disappointed to go watch it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the flip. Usually they say like Pixar movies are kids movies that adults can also enjoy. I would say this is almost kind of like an adult movie that kids can also enjoy, but kind of, you know, it still has that PG rating to it. I believe it's PG. I would be shocked if it was PG-13, but I believe it is PG. I would think. Chris, Google that.
Right, it's already. I already got it. I'm already right here. I'm looking at the box office numbers. It's number one this weekend. Who wouldn't think it would be? So. Yeah.
All right. Well, enough for our love letter of Spider-Verse. Let's keep talking about this.
Yep, exactly. So, the Sony Spider-Verse, of course, they're going to announce a sequel, right? I mean, people are loving it. People are going to see it. The first sequel / spinoff, there are two in the works, and one of them will focus on the Spider-Girls, the Spider-Women, if you will. Spider-Gwen, who we meet in this movie. Most people will know just by looking at her. Jessica Drew, the original Spider-Woman, and the character Silk. I don't know if you're familiar with Silk or not. We've talked about her before.
Yeah, I was gonna say we a few weeks ago we were speculating and talking about how Sony wanted, you know, to expand its Spider universe, and we were talking about Silk mainly towards like a live action movie, and then we were trying to dive down the rabbit hole of like what like Korean American women were even in Hollywood that could play that role authentically, and it was a short list. So if we went by what was already out there was only like 2 actresses that could even do that role, just that had notoriety. So, but it is kind of cool that I like the idea that it could be animated. I almost hope that this is maybe more what Sony's starting to think. Like, hey, we had all of these live action ideas out there in the world that we would have announced, and people probably would have been really weird about them. But let's pull those back in, and instead of them being live action, let's make them animated, because obviously this is the best movie we've made in a really, really long time. Crossing my fingers, it makes a ton of money and is way better and more influential than Venom is, because I don't want more live action Venom. I want more live action. I want more animated stuff in this Spider universe. That's what I want.
Yeah, well, I think also, I mean, what's brilliant about Into the Spider-Verse, not to bring it back, but it's not this typical Peter Parker white schoolboy story. You have Miles Morales, who's biracial and is influenced by a bunch of different things, and he's the main character in his non-traditional Spider-Man suit. So by focusing on these other characters in their non-traditional Spider-Man suit and having a female-led animated movie, I think is a great opportunity for Sony to kind of dive into that a little bit. And Jessica Drew is probably the odd one out because she is Spider-Woman, but she did not get bitten by a spider to get her powers. It was more of an experiment on her. So if you're confused about her, look up Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. You'll learn that she's not quite in the same way as everybody else. Everybody else has been bitten by a spider.
So one thing that I kind of want to see, so I dove down this very bizarre rabbit hole a few months back on the show where I discovered that there's a storyline that runs through the X-Men comics where Kitty Pryde is pregnant, and she ends up being, I think she's impregnated by some sort of like alien or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was really crazy. But it's also just visually interesting to see like a pregnant woman in a comic book, just because it's weird, but like being pregnant is incredibly normal here in the real world. It literally happens all the time. That's the only reason we're all still here. But when I started doing some looking into Spider-Woman and kind of what she looks like now in the comic books compared to how she's looked in the past, where it's just incredibly skin tight suit, and I think there's been some like lambasted comic book covers of her where she's just kind of taking these very like sexualized, like extremely like undoable like poses to kind of show off parts of her body. But now she's a little bit more toned down and a more of a, I would say, like, you remember that Batgirl costume that came out a year or two ago? It was kind of purple, and it's almost kind of like there was like a jacket components to it. They're kind of doing that with Spider-Woman now, or at least in the last couple of years. And then I noticed they had a story arc for her where she was like pregnant and trying to be a mom and also a hero. And I was like, that might be a little difficult to sell in the live action universe. But when we reviewed Spider-Man, we talked about how easy it is to bring these type of characters into an animated universe because the world of animation is already doing your heavy lifting. I was like, how cool would it be if we brought Spider-Woman into the Spider-Woman Spider-verse spinoff thing, and then she was pregnant? I was like, that would be so cool. That's like this one sliver of like the superhero story that like no one's told yet. So we should tell that in animation. That would be crazy, and I'm sure it would be really funny too, like trying to see like somebody physically trying to overcome the shape of their body, but also they're like super powered and like swinging around the city or jumping around, and they're like, is that like a pregnant superhero flying around? What is she doing? So I thought that was pretty funny. So if you check out our featured image either on our website or if you're looking at the little thumbnail on the podcast, I threw her there in the background, and she looks even badass when she's got a big round belly. So I'm kind of hoping for that kind of unique stuff. I love this unique stuff that animation can do.
And her new suit is way more, the old suit's iconic, but the new suit is way more, I think, way better looking.
Yeah.
And I think if you go to the Wikipedia page for Spider-Woman, it has both Silk, Spider-Gwen, and Jessica Drew all together in one image. So they have a history of working together. So this is nothing new. They're not just picking three random characters, which is awesome. Surprising news here. Sinister Six movie we covered several years ago by Drew Goddard and produced by Sony. It remains in what's called active development at the studio right now. And per Amy Pascal, they're just waiting on Drew to direct it. Now, what I think means here is, because Drew Goddard said, he's like, I'm waiting on Sony. What I think is there's probably changes that have to be made to the script, and someone's not budging, and someone's not moving.
I would think a lot of it hinges on the success of Venom and what happened with it. I mean, it's obvious that their whole live action slate and all of their decisions is probably going to be way more focused around Tom Hardy now than it was before.
This was essentially the movie that was supposed to happen after Amazing Spider-Man 2, and because that was canceled, and this movie was written based on that movie. You've got to change it. Like you can't even use Tom Holland's, like those characters like the Falcon has gone into, or not the Falcon, the Vulture has gone into the MCU. There's some other characters. Something's got to change here. So when they say active development, they're like, hey, we're sending notes back and forth. Does somebody want to? You want to do this? No, I'll just not work on this week for a while. So I don't think we'll ever see it. But this is one of the chances where I wanted to bring up, maybe this could be a good animated movie again, Mike, where they take the script and put it in an animated form and not a live action form, because then there's nothing to tie it down to.
Yeah,
It can
I
live
mean-
in that nebulous.
I mean, you know, I'd be excited for that. Before we started hopping on these mics and recording, I was doing some research into the box office of the previous Sony Spider-Man films to kind of compare to Venom, because we all think Venom's doing really well at the box office, especially in foreign markets, and the movie had a relatively lower budget compared to the Amazing Spider-Man movies, that we think that, you know, Sony's just going to be all in on this Venom movie. It's going to be full steam ahead. There's going to be like the crazy Venom franchise. Tom Hardy's going to be plastered all over the screen. But I think there's some really important things to look at here. So I thought Venom was like doing gangbusters, because that's what everybody's saying. Like, oh, it's made so much money. It's raking in all the dough. You know, right now it's around $850 million worldwide. So if you look at the original Amazing Spider-Man, which is the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, that made $750 million worldwide. So only $100 million short. The production budget was definitely larger for this Spider-Man movie. But if you think about it this way, the Amazing Spider-Man still made money. It still made plenty of money, millions of dollars. That's why they made a second one. That's why they made the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And that also made a lot of money too. I mean, worldwide, this one only made $50 million less. So these two Amazing Spider-Man movies were successful financially. And I would say also they were more critically successful.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 was not critically successful. There was a reason that they canceled after that
Well,
movie.
I mean, right now, Venom's only at 29% on Rotten Tomato, and I know the very first Spider-Man is at 72%, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is at 52%. So, I mean, if you're going by Rotten Tomato scores, the Spider-Man movies were critically more successful than Venom, and I guess if you could dive into the whole audience score or whatever, I guess things get different. But what I'm trying to say is, like, Venom's not like a safe bet, just like how the Amazing Spider-Man wasn't a safe bet either. Like, Sony is just one bad Venom performance away from them just canceling this all, just like they did with the Amazing Spider-Man. So I'm just thinking, like, Sony's got, like, they're counting all of their eggs before their hats. They got all these black symbiote eggs, and they're just waiting to crack them open. And it's just like, if you just make, like, one more bad Venom movie, or if it just doesn't do as well in China the next time, like, all of these plans, all of these Sinister Six ideas are just all going to crumble, and they'll be lucky that they still have this animated universe around.
Well, anyway, we're not here to talk about Venom, so we're not going to talk about Venom anymore. Like that, I think that's very irrelevant to this. Sinister Six is an old remnant of a thing. They say it's in active development. I think it's just not going to happen. I don't think it has anything to do with the Venomverse, because Venom isn't part of the Sinister Six.
I think they would absolutely make Venom part of the Sinister Six. They would have to. I mean, if they wanna push these Spider-Man villains forward, they would be crazy not to put their most successful villain in front and center. I think they would have to be tied. It would be so weird to see all of a Sinister Six movie, and it's just like, why didn't you guys put Venom in it? It made all the money, and Tom Hardy was there. Everybody loves him. So.
I mean, I don't think this movie will ever happen, but also...
I hope it doesn't either.
Well, Venom's never been a part of it. Like I said, Vulture's not. Mysterio is... Like, Vulture and Mysterio are staples of this. Like, the only thing that they would have left over there, I think, would be Kraven. Dr. Octopus, Electro, and Sandman are probably in the Marvel wheelhouse. And we may even see Sandman maybe in Far From Home. I don't know.
I mean, they'll have Morpheus. Morbius. Morbius, Kraven, Venom. Then they just got to whip up 3 more, and they'll have a weird Sinister Six. It seems like, you know... But
then it wouldn't be an active development, because that's a whole different script. You have to start from scratch completely. Like, that, they would not use Goddard. Goddard would not have adjust his whole thing. Like, you're talking like they would just cancel what they have now and have to start over.
I mean, I think they would have to do that. There's probably some sort of, like, contractual thing here where Goddard's just like, hey, I want my money. I don't care whether this movie gets made. You're going to have to pay me off if you want to kind of totally change this and take the route of Venom.
Right, but I'm saying that's not what they're saying. Like, they're saying that if they want to make his script, they say they're willing to, but I don't think they will / can anymore. Like, they're going to have to start over completely. But I don't think they're going to even do it. Like, I don't think Sinister Six is even on the radar. They're just like, oh yeah, you've asked us about this a billion times. Let's just kind of go with it. So
it is pretty crazy how long Spider-Man has been out there on the big screen, and they've yet to reach the 6 count yet. Like, everybody has always had plans for this Sinister Six movie. It's just like, you guys haven't even, nobody has reached the number in any of these different franchises you've created. You haven't gotten to the 6 mark yet. You can't make these Sinister Six without 6 of them. So I think that is pretty funny. Like, work a little harder to get to those 6.
Mm-hmm. I think the Raimi trilogy had the opportunity, but they were bold and killed off the Green Goblin literally in the beginning of the first movie, like the end of the first movie. So they kind of like, yeah, no, we don't want to do that anymore. We're just gonna keep going.
We do like to do predictions on this show. So my prediction would be, if there is ever a live action Sinister Six movie that's just wholly owned by Sony, I would guarantee Venom's in it. That would be my guess. I know it's not authentic, but
I
we'll
think
see what happens.
Sinister Six will be a Marvel movie and not a Sony movie.
Oh, okay. I mean, of course, I would prefer that,
because, like I said, we've already got confirmed 2 of the characters in the MCU, Mysterio and the Vulture. And
I have a feeling that if it was on the MCU side of things, they would never actually say the words Sinister Six. You know, it would be kind of like, oh, well, yeah, our next Spider-Man movie has like 6 villains in it, and they're all teaming up to finally defeat Spider-Man, but we're never gonna lean into the notion that it is the Sinister Six.
Right, yeah. Well, and they could probably even change theirs a little bit, but I think the MCU stands a larger chance than the Sony universe to even get close to this.
It's weird. It's like a race between 2 studios who share co-ownership of the same hero, and they're racing to the movie. Who gets there first?
Oh, they don't share that. They don't share co-ownership. Sony owns it. Don't forget that. Sony,
I know.
Sony owns it.
It's a weird divorce.
Because that's our next thing is Spider-Man as a whole. Amy Pascal has committed to keeping Spider-Man in the MCU after Far From Home, or whatever their contract currently is.
Oh, Amy, please.
Because money. Like, how much money is it? I mean, their animated one's doing great, but they didn't need Peter Parker to make that great. But like Tom Holland and all this other stuff, I think the MCU is a good home for it. And I think as long as Marvel keeps cranking out the good movies and the dollars, Sony's going to be like, all right, we're fine with this.
Mm-hmm. And I don't remember if we ever found out, but I wonder who has the merchandising rights for Tom Holland's Spider-Man when it comes down to it. Because, I mean, there's a chance that, you know, Disney doesn't care even if they even get to keep any of the box office from Far From Home. It's like, as long as we can sell Tom Holland toys at the Disney store and keep the money, we don't care if you want to keep this box office.
I am pretty sure it's always been Marvel. Because just again, glancing at my pop vinyl collection, Spider-Man's in it. Spider-Man's villains are in it. And that's not Sony. I mean, that's all licensed through one Marvel license. So, and then like the other figures they make, the bigger ones are like, I don't know, like 8 inches tall, and they come in the big plastic things you see them at the Disney store all the time.
It's almost like there's a symbiotic relationship there. Sony gets the box office dollar, and Disney gets the much better deal of being able to sell the toys.
And they sell a lot of toys. I don't know if you've noticed this in the toys, though. They definitely market Spider-Man differently, though. He is not part of the Avengers line. You always see a Spider-Man line, an Avengers line, and then whatever movies in the theater. Right,
I would think almost that's totally divorced from the whole Sony thing too. I think Spider-Man by himself is such a strong brand, you don't even need to include the word Avengers there. Kind of just like Peter Parker's real life. He always wants to be associated with the Avengers. Never really quite gets in there. But yeah, his brand is just so strong solely on his own. Yeah.
And then the first day he died. So got that going for him. But yeah, so they're committed to doing that even after Far From Home. The Far From Home trailer, Mike, we've heard the tease.
Come on.
The rumor is on Tuesday, the 18th. put it in line with all Aquaman screenings.
And it was weird because I was so frustrated because I was like, you idiots, why wouldn't you give me this trailer on the weekend your other Spider-Man movie comes out? I mean, talk about the synergy there. I mean, you get to see a Spider-Man trailer before you actually watch your Spider-Man movie. That's got to be so good. But then I realized the culture that we're in that just devours trailers like feverishly, I would almost think that they would cannibalize each other's attention. So I think, okay, we'll have our opening weekend for Spider-Verse. People will go see it. And then we're going to drop this Spider-Man Far From Home trailer to keep the Spider-Man hype going into the next weekend. So I guess this makes a little bit more strategic sense now that I kind of pull back and think about it.
It also comes down to, yes, we know Spider-Man, we know we wanted to see the animated movie, but the numbers aren't huge on it. It's not a big weekend for a movie overall. Aquaman has a lot of ticket sales. It's gonna be a very big weekend, and having your Spider-Man movie trailer in front of that as well, you're going to get a bigger general audience, I think, than you would the animated film. So I think 18th feels good. Anything beyond the 18th, and it'll be next year. Like, you're not going to drop that on Christmas Day. Like, that's going to be... They could do that, but I don't want them to. Please don't do that.
I saw something somewhere where there is a trailer that's going to be dropping around Christmas. What was it for? Oh, man. This is going to drive me crazy. Like, everyone's just like, oh, trailer dropping on Christmas, but I guess it's not superhero related, or I would have remembered. But I guess they do drop trailers on Christmas.
Yeah, well, I think there's a bunch of movies coming out. I don't know if you're probably not going to see was it a Mary Poppins this weekend returns?
Nah, that's not for me.
Yeah, I think we're gonna watch it at some point. What's the other one? Welcome to Arwen, I think, is that the other movie?
Oh yeah, that one doesn't really appeal to me.
It's a remake, so I think people who like the first one will see this one.
I thought it was based on a documentary.
I think it might be, but I think it's also a remake of. I think it's a remake of another movie. So,
you know what? I remember the trailer now. It's Jordan Peele's next movie. The guy who created Get Out. And also the key component for Key and Peele, or one of the So there are trailers that might drop Christmas. And then actually, now that I Googled it to try to figure out what it was, some people are maybe thinking there could be a first look of Star Wars 9 coming out on Christmas Day. I don't know if that's real, but
they usually give something a year out, but we don't have a title, and I think they need a title before they gave us something that day. I don't know. It's in a weird time where they don't need to market as early out anymore. Like, yeah, it's Star Wars. You're going to go see it. You don't have to beat us over the head for 2 years that it's coming. But, I don't know. I'm interested in that one. Anyway, Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4 also receives its final bit of the Long Night DLC next week on Friday, the 21st. It'll wrap up the story. I think if you're waiting and going to play it all at once, you're going to have a really good time. The piecemealing has kind of been pacing-wise a little weird, but meh. But there's also 3 new costumes. You get Cyborg Spider-Man, which I think is the coolest looking of the 3. Another spider armor yet again, because they put out, there's 5 spider armors in the whole thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of armor. They basically look like the action figures that you would buy in the toy aisle.
Yeah, this was during the 90s boom when we gotta make a new Spider-Man suit to sell more figures. So.
Yeah, we need armored Spider-Man because everybody's selling armored Batman and armored Superman. For some reason Superman needs
armor and pouches, man. Give them all the pouches. And then lastly, the Peter B. Parker from the Into the Spider-Verse suit.
Yeah, which feels a little bit like a cop-out just because it is literally just the classic Spider-Man suit, but just the center kind of red markings on his chest is a little bit narrower, which I think really it works. It kind of makes a unique but familiar looking Spider-Man suit in the movie, but I was kind of hoping there'd be a little bit more of a wink and nod to Spider-Verse with this last DLC. It really seems like they're holding their cards before we get full on Miles in the video game in some sort of way, but
we're gonna have to get Miles as a playable character before they give us one of his suits.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But give me something a little bit more than just tweaking the sewing lines on the normal Spider-Man suit.
The thing is, though, it is an animated suit, and have you played with any of the animated suits in the game?
Oh yeah, I have. So I guess they will be a little contrast there between what
because the animated suits make the rest of the game game look that much more realistic because they stand out like a sore thumb.
But the big question is, we do see these suits, but if you haven't played the game yet, each suit has its own ability. So I don't know, maybe Peter B. Parker will have like
the DLC doesn't give you any new abilities.
Oh, they don't give you any. Oh, man,
because
that's
the game hasn't changed, because you can't bring. So the DLC works as standalone pieces. You go in and select which piece you want to play, because it has to set the world differently. Like everything in the world is reset for the DLC, because it has to be in a certain way for it to work.
I was hoping they'd have abilities. Like I was hoping, since he's a little chubby in the movie, maybe there'd be some sort of like belly move or a cheeseburger involved.
I would have loved a Spider Ham just as a joke. Like even if or a Stan Lee suit. Swing around with Stan Lee. They used to do that in the old ones. So.
Yeah, they did. I guess maybe they didn't want to seem too crass. Just recently.
Yeah.
Oh well. But they're all out now, so I'm gonna buy them and probably play them January.
Yeah, and then I when they said, "Is this the last one?" They said this is the last of the long night. So I expect more to come, Mike. I'm expecting another story arc or two left, because we got, at least 2 years until the next video game. It's usually the cycle, 2 to 3 years. And I'm itching for my next one, man. I'm itching for the next Spider-Man. Doctor Strange isn't something else I'm itching for. Want a sequel to that movie after seeing him in Infinity War. But a sequel is pretty much confirmed, done deal. Scott Derrickson is finalizing his deal to return as a director for this movie. That would probably put it in line for a 2021 release, which is okay with me, I guess, since we can only get 2 movies in 2020 now.
Yeah, so. We're going to get some all-out wizarding, because he has finally flushed out Sorcerer Supreme, as we've seen in Infinity War. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, and what's cool also is the way it'll work is the last movie ended. He said no more
wizards. Yeah,
no more sorcerers or something like that. So I think we're gonna see him at his peak when it starts, and then like that's gonna be taken away from him. We're gonna have to see him rebuild and get fancy with his his wizarding moves. Some stuff that we haven't seen yet would be pretty cool. So chalk me up as excited to see Doctor Strange too. Maybe we'll see him whip some ass in Avengers 4 in game.
Yes, please.
He gave it the title. He has to, right? Like that's part of it. Yeah. The Punisher season 2 dropped a surprising news on us here. It's coming in January. So new to Netflix in January, Punisher season 2. They had he was tagged on the end of all the other shows and movies, and it's just showing him in the van lighting up.
So do you think I should highlight the word season 2, do a strike through, and then write final season, because it's probably going to be the final season?
Yeah, most likely. It'll probably be in season 5. Maybe they know enough in advance for this. Maybe they were able to end it on a more solid note than hey, here's a vague thing that might happen next kind of deal. But also, I wonder how many episodes are in this season. Like, do you think they went ahead, since they know they were going to be reducing these, they went ahead and struck a line through a couple of them, or it'll be 13 all the way through again?
Yeah, I don't know, because Iron Fist got 10, but now that I start to think about it, maybe it only got 10 because of the way the first season performed. Everybody loved the first season of Punisher. I know we loved it, so maybe it will get 13. Whatever it gets, it's probably going to be its last. So hopefully they did something really cool here. It would be so weird, though, if it came out and then we don't hear anything about it. Like, hey, are you canceling this or not? I wonder what's going to be the marker. Like, how long is it going to be? Like, Friday, it comes out on a Friday, and then on Saturday, like, hey, it's canceled.
How long was Daredevil? 2 weeks?
I think so.
Yeah, I give it by February, we'll know it's canceled. And then they'll announce Jessica Jones before Avengers 4, probably early April, 1st of April. And then they'll cancel that right before Endgame launches. So that's my prediction here, Mike. I think we're gonna have all these out before Endgame hits. So I don't know. Maybe they have something tied in there, but I doubt it, because there is news around the Netflix contracts. So Netflix and Disney's deal is, if these shows are canceled on Netflix, they have to wait 2 years before any of these characters can appear on TV or anything Marvel related again.
That is a weird stipulation, because who does that benefit? Like, is that to Netflix's benefit, did they put that in the contract just to be like, hey, if, these characters go the wayside, we don't want maybe, I don't know, our competitor like Hulu picking them up like right away? This could be just like a Netflix staple contract. Yeah. Maybe just all properties that they take on. They just don't want the ability for them to just leave to another streaming service and just pick up the very next season right away. It makes me wonder, if they can't appear on a streaming service, are they legally allowed to develop them right away? If the Defenders can't appear for two years minimum, can they start production and then they technically can't start streaming the content for 2 years? But either way, I still don't think any of these characters, any of these actors are going to show up on Disney Plus. I think this is their 10-year as these characters are finished.
Exactly, and that's the other thing is, so because of this, they are unlikely to be saved on Disney Plus. Like, these actors are not going to wait 2 years for maybe a chance to come back and play the role. Now, mind you, I was just thinking about this weekend in The Incredible Hulk. Thunderbolt Ross, he waited until Civil War to come back. Like that actor William Hurt. So maybe if they wanted to not use the character as like a whole anymore, they totally could. But I just think this is it for this little experiment here. The other news is that the Marvel TV shows are made by Marvel TV execs who are hated by the Marvel movie execs who are running the Disney Plus service. So I think there's some internal tension between them, and that's probably why they won't live on. But I also think, you're right, it is a Netflix thing, saying, hey, you can't make a Daredevil movie that comes out a month after our show to steal all the thunder away from it, because you're going to do better at it than we did. So, but yeah. Also, we forgot to talk about this. Shang-Chi movie is in development at Marvel. Mike, I don't know. We talked about this and I forgot about it completely. You're
going to have to fill me in about Shang-Chi.
No, we've talked about Shang-Chi before, because I said he would have been a perfect villain, antithesis or adversary to Iron Fist. Shang-Chi is essentially the best martial artist not as good as Iron Fist, but he's not magical in any of his abilities. He's essentially modeled after like Bruce Lee character. And he's been on the Avengers, and
okay, this is all coming back to me. Okay,
so like having a movie budget for fight scenes and choreography and martial arts would be really cool, I think, on the whole. Now, where does this fit in the MCU at large? I don't know.
Now that I think okay, it's coming back to me. I think on a free comic book day somewhere in the last couple years, there was a free kind of one-off Spider-Man comic that where Spider-Man learned how to fight from Shang-Chi. I think he was like teaching him like kung fu, like in Central Park or something like that. So it's starting to come back to me.
Yeah. So he's been part of the Avengers. He's been a part of the stuff I've kind of been reading more in the past like 5-6 years, and it's being produced by David Callahan, and we talked about him already this year. I'm trying to figure out when we talked about him. A couple weeks ago, I think, episode 196. I'm gonna pull it up here because I've got all our notes from all our shows, and I was like, I know we talked about this.
You know what? The way we're kind of talking
Wonder
about
Woman. This was the guy who wrote Wonder Woman, who was hired by Marvel to write a movie.
Okay, it's weird because the way you're kind of describing him, he kind of just seems like. Like a lesser Iron Fist, just in the way of he's got like less mysticism and magic behind him, which may translate a little bit better to the big screen. I'm almost thinking like, what if like Shang-Chi like came into like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what if he was like a kung fu master that joined their team?
My problem with that is, again, the budget for TV martial arts is why Iron Fist sucked so hard.
That's a good point.
Like the people they hire to act, they're not martial artists. If you get a movie studio making a martial arts film, they could put the money behind, here's the person we're hiring who has the skill. We're going to train them. We're going to get all these fights choreographed so they look good. And I think that's it. So he is kind of, he doesn't have like the superpowers like Daredevil or Captain America or Iron Fist have, but he's skilled in so many forms of armed and unarmed combat. Like it's wild. I think it'd be very interesting to see like a superhero martial arts film in theater, like a different genre film.
Yeah, I mean they could do that kind of kung fu genre that none of the movies have kind of hit yet. So this is interesting, that it's in development. Well, I don't know. Well, there's a lot of unanswered questions here for sure.
And David Callahan, we did say was right. He was right working for Marvel. This is the guy who wrote Wonder Woman is working on it. So even better as a whole, because Wonder Woman is one of our favorite DC worlds of DC universe movies right now. So the best one, if you will say. So we may have some.
Look at you sticking to the nomenclature. Worlds of DC.
Yeah, I'm trying
Look
to.
at you.
I'm
the
trying
DCEU is extinct. It's now the Worlds of DC.
Well, yeah. Well, once the Joker comes out, I don't know where anything's going to exist anymore. So I just kind of was like, I'll just go with it now. Start practicing. Once Upon a Deadpool is in theaters, Mike. You can go catch it on its limited run. Apparently, just as a heads up, there are even more after credit scenes than there originally was. So if you are like, oh, I'm not going to stay for the credits because I've already seen the after credit scenes. Nope, stay, watch, and you're going to get even more. So.
I think the only way I end up seeing this movie is if when I go home for the holidays, if my family wants to go see it. I think just recently my father got around to seeing the first Deadpool movie, and he really liked it. So I mean, if we want to get the whole family in the wagon, go down to the local theater and watch a PG-13 Deadpool, that might happen. But honestly, the more and more it's been out and I've thought about it, it just seems like a Blu-ray extra, a really nice Blu-ray extra, but I think that's how I'm going to end up watching it.
Yeah, I hope they release it on home and hopefully sooner than later, because since it's such a limited run, I don't know when you're going home, but like this will be out of theaters on Christmas Eve. So
exactly.
But I did see another TV spot where they were making fun of Nickelback, like. Deadpool's like, why are you making fun of Nickelback? And then they start singing one of the songs in there.
I saw that too.
I was like, oh, that's pretty funny, but is this worth the price of a movie ticket funny again? So
yeah, and also I feel like every trailer I see, it's just taking the new footage away from me. Mm-hmm. Like I know there's only going to be so much new footage in this cut down PG-13 version. Like you can't show me any more trailers because I'm going to the movie specifically to see those parts.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll keep you posted, but it is in theaters if you want to go see it and haven't watched it or love it. And also, apparently, the box office budget or numbers for this add to Deadpool 2 because it's so close to it. Apparently.
Oh, weird. So there's got to be weird like guild like ruling out there that says if X percentage of your film still remains the same as the previous one, you can lump. All of those things together. Yeah,
this is that whole Batman or the Batman v Superman Ultimate Cut thing all over again. But yeah, either way, it's out there. Also this week, and if you were lucky to see it last weekend, Aquaman is in theaters. You can go watch Aquaman. Our review episode is incoming. Hopefully, if Mike gets his tickets.
Yes, we are going to do our best to review that before I head out of town. So
yes,
it'll be the last thing I do before the holiday.
If not, Mike, we may have to just not have the audio quality we're used to, because I was gonna if I did see it this weekend, I was still gonna be mad because I have to wait a whole week to talk about it with you, and then I was like, I don't know if I can remember a movie a week away, like the last week of work for me before I go away for 2 weeks. So
maybe it'll kind of if we can't do it and I have to do it on the road, maybe it'll be like I'll be like a field reporter. Well, you'll be in a nice studio with crisp audio quality, and I'll just be out in the woods, just on the field reporting at the scene.
Yeah,
I'll find a body
Mike,
of water.
what did you see?
Yeah, I'll find the nearest lake, so at least I'll get some like undersea like synergy going there.
Yeah.
So.
Is there fish there, Mike? I don't know. I can't talk to them.
They didn't know Aquaman. I kept asking them, and they just stared at me and they swam away. So, not getting good reviews from this lake behind the house.
Yeah, but there's a swamp thing back there or something like that. But
that would have been a good segue if you waited two more topics.
It is. So we have something, but that's fine. I saw that, so I was like, I'll say it. But so our review is incoming. We will keep you posted since this is such an awkward time of year for everybody to get in and get that reviewed. So we'll do that. And I think there's in-credit scenes. I don't know. I haven't looked enough into this movie to see if there is. We'll post about it if there is. Did you get a chance to watch the Elseworlds crossover, Mike?
I am 2/3 through it. There's three episodes that aired Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So the wife and I sat down and we were able to get through 2 of them because it was like way late into the night. We were celebrating her birthday the next day, so we still got that one last episode to watch. But it's been really fun. Like, I would recommend, even if you don't follow along with the CW shows, they're just kind of fun to jump in and out of, just because they're just throwing everything that they can at these like TV shows to just be wacky and crazy and just really pull like legit like DC characters. Like they can do almost whatever they want because this Berlanti-verse is really very successful. So Warner Brothers isn't really making them pull punches or anything like that. So there's a villain in this crossover. It's not like a big spoiler, but I won't mention his name, but he's kind of from Outer Space-esque, and they did a really good character design on this person where he almost has like these Bruce Timm influences, where if you watched any of the animated DC stuff, if you ever had seen a villain kind of come from space and reach Earth, they have very similar looks to him. So it was kind of cool. It's almost like I'm looking at like a Bruce Timm character kind of like come to life in live action. So there's been some cool production design stuff. No spoilers that Batwoman's in this, and right. So they go to Gotham. So that's kind of fun to see how they kind of pitch. They say Bruce's name, they say the Batman's name, so they're not leaning away from the fact that Batman does or may not exist. So there's some cool, clever stuff going on there. So I don't have a final word on it yet because I got one more episode to watch, but yeah, I mean, all you have to do is, even if they're not streaming right now on any streaming service, but if you just go to the CW's website, you can stream them all there. Mm-hmm. I think they have like the last like 4 or 5 recent episodes for each show. So just watch The Flash, then you watch Arrow, then I think it finishes with Supergirl. So just go watch them. It's a fun time.
I thought it was Flash, Supergirl, then the Arrow, but I could be wrong.
Well, they flipped the schedule around for the crossover. I think technically Supergirl airs on Sundays, but I think they wanted to lead in with their strongest show, which was Flash, so some scheduling stuff there. But yeah, the Elseworlds story so far has been pretty fun. So even if you haven't invested in 20 plus episodes for the last 4 or 5 seasons for whatever show you're watching, you don't have to. I mean, we don't watch Supergirl, and they like Supergirl and Superman had this whole conversation in a scene, and I looked over at my wife and I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about, because they're talking about some characters, maybe some love interest or something, but I was like, I don't care, I'm just gonna go watch them punch people in the next scene.
That's one way to do it, man. That's definitely one way to do it. So that's cool that you can do that, and that you think we should watch it. Some people should watch it. Because I was gonna ask you about Batwoman or Batgirl. No, it's Batwoman, isn't it? So,
Batwoman, yep.
Yeah, so that's cool. Well, when you get caught up in that, I'm going to ask you again what you thought of the whole thing. Stargirl, the other, I think this is a Berlanti show as well, I think they're making.
I think so.
It's a Justice Society America, an older thing. Jeff Johns created this character in the late 90s for DC, or early 2000s, but they've cast Joel McHale as member of the JSA Starman. So
Joel McHale. I love Joel McHale because I'm such a fan of Community. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be reprising the same type of character, but Joel McHale does have a sensibility of comedy, so I would think maybe he's going to be in that same realm. But man, that Greg Berlanti has so many freaking shows. I don't know how anybody can keep up with all of this. There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. You talked about Batman in the crossover. Have you heard about the final episode of Titans?
I heard that there is a brawl with Batman.
It's Batman versus Robin is the final episode.
We gotta watch Titans now. I think we owe it to ourselves and at least our audience to at least watch the first season. It's not super long. I want to see somebody say F Batman. I think that might be fun, even though we saw it in the trailer.
First episode, I really enjoyed it. And so once it's all together, I'll be able to go. It'd be nice to go through it. But I mean, like, they go full Batman. Like, Gotham and CW haven't even gone full Batman yet. So I'm like, well, this is worth the price of admission alone just watching this episode. So
before I forget, before we move on, I did get a really cool tidbit from somebody I know that works on these shows. There's kind of like a flashback, but technically it's in a different dimension in this crossover episode where you get to see a different version of Barry Allen, an older version of the Flash, and he's in kind of this iconic dark red suit. and I found out that is literally the exact same Flash suit from the older Flash show from back in the day. It's like literally the same suit. They got it out of storage, and
Really?
and they put it back on. And I guess the suit had like kind of fake muscles on the front of it, which I guess they didn't age quite as well on the actor. So in post production, they just added a little extra lightning around the midsection because it looked a little wonky when it got back on camera. So I thought that was really cool. They're really paying attention to details that I think most people wouldn't really care either way. But the people that noticed it is a really cool wink and nod. So there's a lot to look for in these crossovers.
Yeah, and that's not a spoiler. I'm pretty sure I saw it in the previews. But that's the classic '90s Flash. Yeah, because that was in the trailer. So that's really cool. That's really awesome to know that they got that. Swamp Thing coming up on the DC streaming service as well. In Ziering, the main actor in the Sharknado films, has been cast as Blue Devil. Are you familiar with Blue Devil?
I'm very familiar with Ian Ziering, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'll throw some shade real quick. My wife used to work for the studio that made Sharknado.
She's in a couple of them too.
Yeah,
isn't she?
she's been in a couple backgrounds when they've done some pickup shots around that studio. And I texted her the other day. I was like, babe, so Ian Ziering's going to be in that Swamp Thing show. I think her response was just, ugh. Because apparently he's I think his ego gets the best of him. I mean, dude, you've just been in some movies about tornadoes and sharks. So, yeah, I don't know. All I saw was like a side-by-side picture of Ian and the Blue Devil. So I was like, I mean, the face does kind of match up, but it is kind of funny to go from like 90210 and then to this Sharknado franchise and then slot it into Swamp Thing. Yeah, it does. It seems like it could be like a recurring role. Of Swamp Thing.
Yeah, so in the comic books, Blue Devil he's a stuntman actor who's in this Blue Devil suit, and he's mistaken by this actual like satanic entity, and he becomes as an actual demon spawn, and he becomes bonded to this suit, and he becomes like a superhero on accident, trying like to fix himself along the way. Now the description for this, it's somewhere. It didn't really give any more details about that, but he's obsessed with his former actress or actress. So I think he may become more of a jerk / creepo in this one, but I don't know if he'll be bonded to the Blue Devil soon.
That might fit his real life persona pretty well. We'll see how that goes.
Yep.
Man, such weird news.
I'm not touching that one with the 10-foot pole, but yep. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. Birds of Prey, the movie, they've released a kind of a cast list. We already know Ewan McGregor is the big one. Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie's back from that. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I believe, is Canary or Huntress, and there's another one. But the actor Chris Messina, known from the movie Argo, and also I believe the Mindy Project, has been cast as Victor Zsasz. Are you familiar with Zsasz in the DC Batman lore?
I mean, I wasn't even really familiar with Chris Messina, but I Googled his face, and his face looks familiar. So I've seen him before, and I feel like I can almost, like, hear his voice. So he must have been in something I watched, because I'm not a Mindy Project person, so... And I have seen Argo, but it's been a very long... Oh, he was in The Newsroom. Okay, I remember him from The Newsroom. Gotcha.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, he's got, I mean, if you go look him up, he's got a long list of... acting credits here, movies and TV. So, but he's been cast as Victor. You know who Victor Zsasz is?
I can't say that I do.
He's the like a psychiatrist, and he like kills people, and he marks on his body for every kill he has. So when you see like the torso, like the guy who goes like torso exposed, he's got like the tally marks all over his body. Those are from his kills. He was big in the first 2 Arkham games. Like he's a big villain in those. And apparently they're going to be bringing him to the movies. With Birds of Prey rather than wait for anything else. So
all right,
but yeah, so that's cool. Now we got 3 things to wrap up this show that are just out of this world, and we didn't really have any big news this week, so I thought these would be interesting to talk about. Sonic the Hedgehog, the first official poster landed, but I don't care about the official poster, Mike. I care about these leaked posters. The first leaked poster we talked about in particular is a promo poster, or a concept poster, of what this real-life Sonic is going to look like, paired up with Chris Pratt. Now, what's wrong with Chris Pratt being in this poster?
Oh man, well he's not in the movie.
Yes,
that's what's wrong. And if you kind of look at this, this isn't like a photo. This is like a kind of like a artistic photoshopped representation of Chris Pratt. That's why he kind of looks a little weird.
Is that Burt Macklin? Is that shaved Burt Macklin?
That does look a lot like Burt Macklin.
So Sonic, he looks a lot like the real life Pikachu from Detective Pikachu, which isn't that bad. Like this version doesn't bother me. Does this bother you? Like to see Sonic like this?
Well, so I'm just gonna dive into this real quick.
Yeah.
Before we saw this leaked version of what he looked like, we got the weird motion poster and also the leaked poster of him like just kind of lounging on the top of what the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
So we've only seen his muscular pint-sized silhouette, which is very weird, and then his muscular cast in that photo, and people have just been losing it on Twitter that he's just looks so bizarre and like, why is he muscular and fit? And that look is more finalized than what we're seeing in this kind of like pre-production photo, where he doesn't seem to have much definition, at least from what I can see. It's kind of hard to tell because his legs are crossed on top of Chris Pratt's head, but I was liking the really weird muscular version. I mean, like, who was really clamoring for this Sonic movie? We were all really weird and nervous, and he really hasn't had the best run of games in like the last decade. Like there's been like a couple like gems kind of like hidden in the rough, but I don't think no one really even wants the Mario movie that the Despicable Me people are making, because we're just all weird and we don't really know what's gonna happen. So when I saw all this weird Sonic stuff come out, I was like, oh hell yeah, let's do it. Let's get as weird as possible with it, because I'm not super precious about Sonic. And yeah, screw it, let's put his muscular calves on screen, spend like $80 million to render it. I don't care.
Well, what's interesting here is like the second poster is what I'm more interested in, is the one with his legs look super long, and all you see are like his legs leaning out over the bridge. Like, they're very long legs for him to run, and him being fit's fine, because that's all he does is run really fast. Like, yeah, he's gonna be fit, but like the legs are really, really awkward. And this pre-production poster is there's apparently another picture of a list of people who wanted to be this character named Tom, who will be played by James Marsden, and then the people who are going to voice Sonic. Apparently, Tom Holland was like on the list for Sonic, and Chris Pratt was like the main actor for this movie. Funny enough, Pixar snagged them both for their upcoming movie, whatever that's about.
Oh yeah, Elseworlds or Otherworld or something.
I think it's a video. I don't know what the new Pixar. I mean, but anyway, but like to see this picture now, everyone's gonna think Chris Pratt's in this movie, and he's totally not.
But to bring it back around, I actually don't really like this version of Sonic. He looks really weird. I guess technically he's got all the right shapes. You know, he's got the hair and the blue fur, and he's got the snout going, but like, that doesn't look like Sonic to me. That almost looks like a plushie of Sonic came to life. Like, Sonic's always looked edgy and kind of badass to me, and that's always kind of been intentional, because I think they wanted him to be cooler than Mario when they invented him to compete. So this kind of just looks like this weird, like,
onward,
like fair thing that came to life, like that you win at, like throwing, you know, balls at cups. So I want him to look more badass. This just kind of looks like a weird.
The other ones look like he's like some sort of mutant you'd find in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, he's too hulking.
That's what I want.
But Sonic, to me, like, even through the animated series and the video games, he's always been a smaller person, and he just gets in a little ball and goes really fast. I don't know. We've got 2 live-action movies coming out, this Nintendo versus Sega, and we all know how this went down in the video game era, so we know exactly how it's going to go down in the movie era. So
yeah, this reminds me of like this seems like he would be in like a live action Roadrunner movie or something like that. Like, this looks like live action Looney Tunes. That's not what I want from Sonic.
I don't even want a live action Sonic. Just make him animated. He can do so much more there. But anyway, the Pixar movie was Onward, by the way. I just looked it up.
Onward, that's what it was.
So, and we know nothing else about it. Godzilla King of Monsters dropped us a second trailer this week. And actually, I don't know if you've watched this trailer or not, Mike.
I have not. I haven't even watched the first Godzilla movie.
First Godzilla movie is pretty okay. This trailer looks awesome. I would recommend this to anyone who may be on the fence or maybe hasn't seen the first one. This is taking the classic Godzilla villains that we've seen, Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah, putting them all in one movie, and they're all going to be fighting all these huge, unbelievably behemoth monsters.
If I remember right from the first trailer, isn't the whole premise of this film like these monsters have kind of been like reactivated as like kind of planetary like security or something? Like if you've messed up the planet enough on your own, humans, you risk unearthing these things to kind of wipe you all out and reset the Earth or something.
They could be. I mean, they say they're forces of nature, so I don't know. I don't remember too much. This one doesn't focus on that at all. Like this, like we kind of see them like frozen in place, and the other ones like they're trying to figure out where Mothra and Rodan, like Rodan's like in a volcano and King Ghidorah is like under ice or something like that. And they're like, oh, we need to wake these people up because obviously they're gonna cure the Earth. Well, that's stupid. Like, of course, a big monster. Something's gonna go wrong here. But the final shot in this with Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah is pretty sick for a Godzilla movie.
I might have to watch this trailer then.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, once you get off this, you just need to sit down and watch this because it just looks good. There's so much action in this, and I did not expect this much action in a Godzilla movie. I expected one villain, not 4 huge monsters going at it. And this, of course, is the last film that sets up the sequel, Godzilla versus King Kong. So you gotta. I haven't watched King Kong yet, but you're gonna have to watch this. They're coming. This is a culmination movie. Like, this is the Avengers of monster movies, of giant behemoth monsters. So.
All right, let's do it.
But yeah, I'm gonna recommend you check that out. And that's in our notes. And lastly, Bobby Millie Brown? Is that right? She's in Godzilla King of Monsters. She's in this trailer.
True.
And she's also in Stranger Things. And Stranger Things Season 3 dropped some titles on us this week. All 8 titles. I did not know there were 8 episodes per season. I always thought that was longer.
Yeah, this one's always been a little shorter. So this is the thing this is what worries me about Stranger Things. So the first season was amazing. I loved it, and the cool thing about it was just in its infancy, and the word of mouth and the fervor got crazy, and then everybody got on the Stranger Things train. And then the second season came out, and I liked the second season. I don't think it was as good as the first one, but I kind of trust the vision of the Duffer Brothers. I think they know where they want to go. This isn't one of those things where they just kind of hit gold or struck fire and then they got to whip up what they actually want to do now. But it's been so long since we've had Stranger Things. I mean, technically, if it was going to be every year, we should have had it over Halloween. But it looks like, I don't know if maybe we're going to have to wait until next Halloween, or maybe this will be like a weird, maybe like March release or something like that. Maybe we'll get a little sooner since it's been a little bit longer.
I think this is like February, March, April window.
But I think all the hype around this is just kind of, I think it's weakened my opinion of the franchise, which is no fault of the Duffer Brothers creatively, but I was at Target, we were doing Christmas shopping, I go through all the nerdy pop sections and stuff like that, and Netflix is still, they're trying their best to capitalize on that second season of Stranger Things for 2 years in a row. It's just like, you've milked the franchise as much as you can because you don't have any new content to milk. So it's just kind of like, we're going to need some more Stranger Things soon because we only ever get 8 episodes, and you can burn through those 8 episodes easily in a day, the way they tell those stories. So really, you're going literally like sometimes like 2 years or a year in between seasons, whereas like some shows, at least it's 11 months instead of 12 months because it takes you a whole month to watch it as they put the episodes out. So yeah, all I'm saying is it's been a while since I've watched Stranger Things, and I don't know if it's wearing off on me or if I just need to restart the Stranger Things engine,
Yeah, I mean, I think you just gotta get that hype going again, man. Gotta get the hype train going.
And this helps a little bit. It's kind of cool to see some official video, at least, of seeing the titles. So Susie, Do You Copy? Episode 1, The Mallrats, The Case of the Missing Lifeguard. That sounds like it could be interesting, which could point towards maybe a summer release. Because these have usually been in the fall, at least. I don't know if they give us there was a pumpkin. Yeah, I mean, there was a pumpkin patch in the last season.
Yeah, I don't know if they give us these titles and wait 6 months though.
Yeah, that's a good point. The sauna test, The Source.
Oh, that sounds good.
The Birthday, The Bite,
Ooh, that
and
one sounds
then
good too.
The Battle of Starcourt. So, I mean, a summer story could make a little sense because if the Duffer Brothers are kind of, pulling on the nostalgia thread a little bit, I mean, think of like The Goonies or think of The Sandlot. I mean, those are kind of pitched, as kind of nostalgic films that are, take place during the summer romps. So, yeah, might be kind of cool to see these kids riding their bikes around without jackets. Maybe it won't be cold outside. Go to the community pool, throw a Demogorgon and see what happens when he hits chlorine. I don't know.
Yeah, again, I don't know when it's coming out, but they could definitely not set it the same time it's coming out for once. And that may give them a little freedom to explore, again, like you said, other, I guess, weather patterns, other things they do throughout the Halloween weekend where all the stuff always happens.
I mean, these kids are aging. They're going to start hitting puberty soon, so they're going to have to fit these stories around these kids aging, and it would be kind of interesting to see, the story pick up not right where it left off, because I think they did that between season 1 and season 2. There was a gap of time, so this will be an even longer gap of time. Maybe these kids have finally moved on a little bit, and then the creepiness pops back up. Who knows?
Yeah, I think also because of the demand and desire for the show, I think they said they're doing 5 seasons of the show, I think is what the Duffer Brothers said.
I think so, yeah.
They're going to be cranking out the next 2 pretty quickly. I think once they know that they have 5 to go, they're going to, like, see, kids are aging. They just need to do it before all the prices go up on these actors, because if some of them are getting into movies, I believe, Millie Bobby Brown's in Godzilla. The other kid, I think Finn Wolfhard, he was in the movie It as well. Mm-hmm. So they're starting to get into movies, so they need to wrap these up while it's going.
And you never know. When these kids get older, they might get ugly. They're cute now. They're cute and young, but they might get some hormones in them. They might start getting some pimples, getting some weird body hair, unibrows. We don't know what's going to happen to these kids if they get a little too old.
Yeah.
Get them on camera.
Plastic surgery for sure. But yeah, that's it for the week, Mike. This is our news. Nothing huge, but enough here to cover a whole show, that's for sure. But anyway, Mike, if people want to know what you're up to, they can follow you over the holidays, maybe show off some of those sweet gifts you're getting. Where can people find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Twitter and Instagram, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. I know Tumblr is going through a crisis right now, so I post all of my stuff all over the internet, so you got to diversify out there, Chris, in the world, so never put all your eggs in one basket. Chris, people want to find out where you are. If they want to see your Not Safe for Work Tumblr blog, where can they find that?
I don't know if I have one, but you can find me on Twitter at Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram Valdan87. I'm going to be trying some product photography I've never done before in 2019, Mike. I told you about this, right? Like the light box. I'm going to try some 3D modeling of some pop vinyls.
Ooh,
I'm going to get a little wild here because I just need a little creative outlet to go through and be exciting. But so yeah, I'll be telling you more about that as the new year wraps up and I can get back from Disney, because as fun as that is, like it's exhausting me already, and I'm not even left yet. So but yeah, and then head over to Comic UI. If people want to know more about our shows or reviews, maybe get ready for our Aquaman review next week, Mike. Where can people find more of us at?
Well, as always, please visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So we talked about a couple trailers and a leaked poster in our show notes. So just head on over there and you can get links right to that stuff. If you want to subscribe, you can get us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. We'll put it wherever you want it. Just let us know. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. Also, we love hearing from you, so drop us a tweet, drop us a comment in the YouTube video, send us an email, drop us a DM, wherever you can reach us. We love hearing from you. And you know what I say, if you're a super fan of the show, share the show with a friend, share a show with a buddy. We love that. But But also one thing that I want to ask people is sometimes it's not possible for us to always go back and listen to an entire hour of ourselves talking, especially since we experienced the conversation firsthand. But sometimes I'll be listening to a podcast I really like, and there'll be something in it that really bugs me. Like, oh, you say this word like too loud or too much, or there's something buzzing in the back of the room that you record in. Could you fix that? Because it drives me insane. Because that's happened to me sometimes before, where I've listened to this amazing podcast and it's just like, oh man, I just wish you would move the mic back or move it forward, and it's driving me crazy. These are things we might not even notice. So if there's anything that's just like really just like grinding in your teeth, or it's like nails on a chalkboard, just let us know and we can probably fix that really easily.
Well, in honor of Festivus, go ahead and air your grievances with us. Anything you want to say, anything bad at all, just let it all out. It's this time of year. We won't hold it against you, but I mean, it is not over until me and Mike wrestle. I'm just telling you that right now. We all know that. So, also reminder, Marvel's Runaway Season 2 debuts this Friday. Forgot about that on Hulu.
Damn.
So
I got to catch up. I got so much to watch.
You got a lot to watch.
I'm going to be on some planes over the next couple of weeks, so maybe I'll just try to watch some of this stuff.
Lock and load them. So, all right, people, we'll catch you guys next week. Have a happy holidays, and we'll see you then.
All right, adios.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
We don't do tape anymore. All right, bowl tape.